Yeah, I remember when Elon Musk mentioned, I can't remember which podcast, but he said something along the lines of free speech only works when you let someone say something you disagree with. And lately, with all the canceling and censorship and shadow banning, and I'm not saying in all those cases everyone should be able to say everything, right?
Yes.
But it does feel a little bit tyrannical, right? And people, a number of people may feel they can't express their true feelings, their truth, right? When on some sides people say, oh, I want to express my truth, that's the ultimate value of life or whatever, but then they're not letting other people also express what they believe, right? And you mentioned that, creating tyranny to oppose previous tyranny or oppression
Yes.
isn't always the best answer. For example, let's talk about sexuality, the sexual revolution,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
In the past, there was bias, discrimination, hate towards, let's say, homosexuals or different expressions of attraction or gender, etc. But then now it's almost to the point where it's sort of the left has their view, and it's like you have to believe this. You have to, trans. You have to let children. I don't want to get too controversial here, but you have to let children, do gender transition at age 9 or 10, and someone might say, no, I disagree with that.
Yes.
And I think those are both valid points that people should be able to express and debate without being canceled or being. There was a person that in Canada that got put to jail when I believe it was his son or daughter was transitioning to another gender, and he told the doctors, no, I'm not going to let my 10-year-old or whatever it was, a minor, transition because it's my child. And then he got, I think, put to jail, or he's in a legal proceeding, criminal proceeding, Anyways, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but it's an interesting topic about the aspect of we all have our own lens that we look at things, and it's so easy to say, hey, I believe in tolerance, but at the same time, but I'm not tolerating that thought.
Right.
Right?
I feel like it's this.
I'm only being tolerant of things that I'm tolerant of,
right?
But not what you said.
I think that the left, the radical left, can be very for diversity in terms of ethnicities and orientations,
sexual expression,
but not so much when it comes to ideas.
Yeah.
Like there is this official, like you have to think this way, and if you deviate from that, then you are either committing hate speech, hate crime, you are homophobic, transphobic, and all of that. And I think that it is complicated, right? Because these words are really inflammatory. I don't know to what extent this is, the protesters and like the loudest people.
Yeah.
Because I would say that in the academia, there are ways of carrying out these discussions, that can be valid. But it's true that the problem is that when it comes to legislations and things like that, it's getting tricky. And, the honest answer is that I don't know. I think that the issue of political correctness, one thing I would say, though, is that, the right criticizes the left for being politically correct, right? Not saying things as they are because of controversy and things like that. But I would say that the right also have some form of political correctness. There are things that they don't allow, so I would say that for me, I defend the right for you to have your opinion. But once you say your opinion, I might criticize your opinion heavily. That's for sure. So in that sense, I do believe in that. But I would say that even on the right, there is some form of political correctness. I mean, the scandal now was like the Candace Owens and fired. I don't know if you know that.
No.
The Daily Wire had Candace Owens, this black conservative woman, very loud, anti-climate change, many things like that, okay? So she was fired and by having beef with Ben Shapiro and things like that.
Regarding Israel.
So that's what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that the right is also extremely hostile with some form of speech. Mm-hmm. That is coming from the left or from other views that oppose them. So it's not like they are not, like when conservative people say, oh, you should call just sex, not gender, and all that is a form of correctness of speech. Mm-hmm. So maybe they don't prosecute you or send you to jail. That might be one thing. But what I'm trying to say is that they are playing the same games. That's what I'm trying to say. They are both embodying some form of political correctness because we all have a sense of what is proper to say and what is not proper to say. For example, the comedians, does humor and comedy does comedy have ethical limitations, or
Right.
should comedy have ethical boundaries? I would say everything has ethical boundaries, even consent. The consent is not the ultimate expression of the will, because, for example, you cannot give yourself, you cannot offer yourself to me as a slave. Like, it's
Right.
not by law, you can't even do that, because
Yeah.
it is understood that there are things that even though you might consent, it is immoral.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that there's always this macro, and we could use the metaphor of high or super low. Like, there's an underlying, what would you say, moral intuition that is, there at play. But I would say that, yes, it's disingenuous, in my opinion, to just paint the other opinion as, like hate crime and all of this, and just shut down the doors of the communication, just because you think this is the way things should be, and that you have a full grasp of the truth and nobody else, and they are brainwashed and things like that. I don't like that rhetoric. I think that is a form of dehumanization, and when you do that, well, it's tricky, man. It's tricky. I'm not a fan of that. So yes, this is a book that I would like to write in the future, about the whole thing of how the queer theory started, gender ideology, the trans issue, and things like that. This is something that I want to write in conversation with academics from the LGBTQ plus community. So I want to write a survey of how we got to the point we got in a more less polarized manner, to elevate the discourse, to understand.
I hope you do that. I think
And then I will write another book positioning myself and why do we believe that this is not okay. And, some things might be permissible at a legal level, and some things morally at a personal level I don't condone, period.